Okay, Lou Salome. So here's a quote from this website here, an article detailing the letters of Nietzsche and his correspondence with other people and the relationship with Lou Salome and Paul Ray in 1882. He said that of all the women who figure prominently in Nietzsche's life, Lou von Salome was the most important woman to befriend him and one of the powerful forces that operated in the last decade of the philosopher's active life. 10 years before he died, he was in a catatonic state. 10 years before that, he was during his most prolific stage. So he meets Lou Salome either on April 23rd or April 24th in 1882. The letters are not able to determine what exact day, just one of those 2 days. So if we move the birth time back 10 seconds, we'll find that the Pluto transit is within a degree on April 24th. So if we look here back at the timeline format, we see that Pluto goes in orb of a degree late April. But if we peer into that onto April 24th and see if is Pluto active within an orb. Is it within a degree orb on that day that they met, or one of those days? You see that Pluto is trying Mars, but no, it's not active. It's not even an aspect. Of course, I typed in the wrong day. It's 24. Okay, April 24th. Pluto's not an orb of the descent. However, if we take the birth time back 2 seconds at a time, we'll see that it quickly becomes within orb. It was already very close. So once I get to, I've now gone 8 seconds back, and you see on the side here that Pluto opposite the ascendant, that is conjunct the descendant, begins to become a factor now. It's not quite an orb, but once we take it to 10 seconds, move his birth time back 10 seconds, the descendant moves enough to fall in within a degree of Pluto on the day that he meets her, one of the supposed days. If he met her on the 23rd, which is a day earlier, and we take it back 16 seconds, it will fall in orb on that day. So you can see if I take it back 2 more seconds, you can see this pink line moves a little bit. Another 2 seconds, pink line moves a little bit earlier onto that day of April 24th, and another 2 seconds would amount to 16 seconds earlier than 10 a.m. It starts to fall within an orb on April 23rd. We take it forward, 2 seconds we fall. We see that it comes back a little bit. So 10 to 16 seconds earlier of a birth time, we have perhaps Nietzsche's exact birth time is what I'm feeling down to the second. Okay. So when he meets her, Salome is an emancipated woman. She doesn't want to get married. She didn't do that until much later in her life. At this point in her life, she was not interested in anyone. She arranges a friendly study group between her and Ray. Ray was a mutual friend of Nietzsche and her. Together, they have fun, they share ideas, they entertain an idea of starting their own commune from approximately April when they met to about November of 1882. So it was a brief spell, but we see Pluto is active during the whole of it, we will see. Throughout this time, Nietzsche proposes to her 3 times and is rejected 3 times. So a devastating effect that had. Indeed, it did. Um, as you can imagine. The first time he proposed to her, he did it through Ray. He had Ray do it for him. And perhaps even the second time. The third time, definitely, at least one time, he did it directly to her on a walk that they had alone. It was kind of like this famous moment between them. And he was rejected soundly again. She held her ground. Perhaps wasn't even interested in the least. She only really seemed to be interested in him as a teacher. And that, perhaps only even that, perhaps only even briefly. So also what complicated things was Nietzsche's sister and mother got involved uh, with with Salome and writing letters to her and even the sister interacted with her at one point. So that complicates matters for Nietzsche. Um, Eventually, Ray and Salome leave Nietzsche alone. They leave him behind. The reasons aren't totally clear, but quote, Nietzsche's rapid progression and decline begins with a letter to Ray dated 23rd of November. We go back to the timeline format. Let me show you what was going on then. Because indeed, Pluto is lined up again with everything so far. Okay, so here's 1882. There's that late April Pluto. And so here's 1882 November. 22nd, it goes exact. When they're gallivanting around as a trio, Pluto goes exact. You know, they've officially met in April. May, they're hanging out, having fun. June, you know, you can suspect that these 4 months are definitely this. Things don't, by the letters, things don't tend to seem to get sour until mid-November. So you have 5, 6, 7 months, 6 or 7 months here. 7 months of joy, relative joy. But on that 22nd of November, we have this is a quote from that article, from this article here, from this website, to give it credit again. Blue there, rsleep.people. Quote, Nietzsche's rapid regression and decline begins with a letter to Ray dated 23rd of November. This is one day after Pluto goes exact to his descendant. We're talk about descendant. He's writing letters to other people that he's having relationships with. But unfortunately, not with the intention of partnership. That starts to disintegrate by November, December, and by December, the quote, the crisis in the relationship to Lou and Ray becomes more acute. There's evidence of suicidal thoughts on Nietzsche's part and the abuse of narcotics on Nietzsche's part. And we can see the intensity. He's in the thick of his transit, November and December. Certainly that he's within the vicinity of its exactitude. So indeed, things are very intense. This is the second go round of Pluto. Remember, the first go round was in 1881, applying direct, and then 1882, applying direct. I'm sorry, applying direct in retrograde, applying direct, going retrograde. During that retrograde phase in November, December, he is suicidal, uh, dejected, feeling terrible. Okay. And he finally severs the relationship. He says, adieu, my dear Lou, I will not see you again. Protect your soul from similar actions and try to make good for Ray and for others what you could not make good with me. You did me wrong. Don't do anything bad to anybody else like you did to me. And hopefully things will work out for you and him better. Perhaps some jealousy. There was jealousy, as stated in this article, between the two men and towards each other. And Nietzsche feels wrong and he severs ties to Salome and Ray. And it is on the heels of that that Nietzsche goes in to write his, quote, greatest work, Thus Spake Zarathustra. So on the heels of romantic rejection, Nietzsche flees into his solitude and begins writing Zarathustra. Pluto, on the descendant, while this is happening, seems to force the choice between partnership, the descendant, versus solitude, the ascendant. Nietzsche chooses solitude. Now, why do I say the activation of the descendant leads, how is it that the activation of the descendant by the slowest moving body in the sky leads to the opposite of what we claim the descendant is about, which is relationships, the connecting to other, and it leads to its opposite, solitude, Nietzsche's decision to flee into his solitude. And for all intents and purposes, for the next 10 years of his life, mind you. The answer to that is because the descendant is always exactly the opposite of the ascendant. They are always both being activated with equal intensity anytime one is being activated, because they're always 0 minutes opposition to each other. They are these two astronomical points that don't waver. And I think Pluto was forcing this choice between the two, and Nietzsche chose. So that is what's going on there. The next phase of his life, that is what I propose is, I want to emphasize, that's what I'm proposing is happening. Why is he choosing solitude when the descendant is being activated? You might think some sort of necessarily some relationship is going to result of this, but it doesn't. And I think the answer lies because the descendant always includes the ascendant as a alternative. So I just want to emphasize that idea and suggest that that's why what is happening is happening. Pluto's forcing a choice in this matter, and Nietzsche made his choice. So I will stop there, and from there we will get into the details of the writing of Thus Spake Zarathustra itself, and how the writing of that, which we have ample details on from his autobiography, line up with the transits yet again of this Pluto to the descendant, this monumental time in his life. And we will do that in the next video. Thank you.